Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the virtual Bible study of John. I decided to take things outside today. So you may hear the neighbors cutting grass, and we got some bugs and airplane noise and air conditioner noise, but hopefully it won't be too big of a deal. As I hear these kind of bugs behind me back here, crickets or something back here chirping, grasshoppers, I want to point out something. I want to read Hebrews 4:12, the first part of it. It says, indeed, the Word of God is living and active. So when we read the Bible, I mean, it's alive. It means when we read it, multiple times, we get something different every time. It's living, it's unpredictable, it affects us in different ways. Just like a living creature will be unpredictable and do different things. If you were to pick something up 5 different times, it'd probably behave different every time. Well, the Bible's kind of saying is it's alive, and that's why I'm trying to really push, our youth in Reach 42, especially to read the Bible every day, because it does keep us, because it's alive. It helps keep us alive. It helps keep our faith alive, and our relationship with Jesus alive. So I just wanted to thank you for coming back and being a part of this study online. And today we're looking at chapter 5 in John. And Jesus is back in Jerusalem. It was just in Galilee in chapter 4, and now he's walked back, 100 miles or so, back to Jerusalem again. So, Jesus, I think, was probably in pretty good shape. He was probably, pretty buff guy, no weight problems or anything for him, all the walking he did. But anyway, he's back in Jerusalem, and he starts off by healing somebody. All right, so we have a man here. The first half or so of John 5, it says he's been sick for 38 years, and so there's some pool that they feel like if the paralyzed or sick can get in this pool, they'll be healed or whatever. I haven't had time to do a lot of research in this pool. Maybe some of y'all know some more background about it, but anyway, we have this pool that this man is saying, he can't ever get to. Every time it's his turn, somebody jumps in front of him. So I'm guessing maybe he's paralyzed in some way. I don't think directly say that. It just says he's sick. But it's probably some paralyzation or something going on. And he's telling Jesus his story. And Jesus says, in verse in verse 8, Jesus said to him, stand up, take your mat, and walk. At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. So I kind of saw this as, I kind of related this to the way we're always looking for other sources, other ways to heal ourselves, other answers other than Jesus. This guy and others like him, instead of looking to God for their healing, they're looking at getting in this pool. If they can get in this pool, then they'll be made better. And Jesus, to me, has came off as, look, don't you realize who's here? God's in front of you here. And so Jesus just kind of like, get up and walk. So Jesus was kind of, to me, I kind of, feel God speaking, stop looking at every other thing before God for your answer, and then coming to God last when you're desperate. Why don't we just come to the one who's with us all the time, and has the power to heal us and help us with whatever problem all the time, instead of waiting to get in this, symbolic pool. For us it could be, something on TV or something we see. Well, that's the answer to my problem. This pill is gonna fix this. This doctor here says you're really great. He's gonna make everything better. Or this particular thing over here, this person is gonna make everything better. This pastor is gonna make everything better. When really, we need to be going to God first. So I don't know what y'all got from that, but that's kind of what I felt God speaking to me about that part. Later we have Jesus talking to the Jews. There's some Jews that are like, kind of getting on Jesus for working on the Sabbath and getting on this paralyzed guy for carrying his mat on the Sabbath and real legalistic stuff. And Jesus kind of gets into a conversation about, look, my Father and God the Father are still working on the Sabbath. I'm going to work on the Sabbath. and he gets into a longer conversation. He talks about a lot of things I don't have time to discuss here. But he does make clear there's two types of resurrections that everybody's going to have. And we look in verse 28 of John 5. Jesus says, "Do not be astonished at this, for the hour is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and will come out. Those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of condemnation." So we're all going to have one of these two resurrections. This whole idea that we just die and just everything stops and goes black and nothing happens, that's not Jesus' account of what's going to happen. So, I want to believe what he says, that there's two resurrections, which is why we should really have, compassion for people and try to do all we can to really minister to people and let them know about Jesus and the resurrection of life that they should want and that comes through him. Also, a few other things here we'll look at. The end of the chapter, verse 46, Jesus says, "If you believe Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe what he wrote, how will you believe what I say?" So he's kind of talking to the Jews about all this unbelief that he sees going on. He's doing all these signs and wonders, and there's still all this unbelief. And Jesus is saying, look, even Moses, wrote about me, and you don't recognize it. So he's really kind of, again, setting up his authority as the Son of God, and the fact that he's existed long before the time period that he's in currently in John 5. And Moses, if you look, most authorities think Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Am I missing something? I think those are the first 5. And so, I didn't research. Maybe y'all can do some of this or have some knowledge to the actual points where Moses kind of referred to Jesus in the writings. The only thing that came to mind directly was in Genesis, where it talks about, we, where it says, Genesis 1:27, "So God created humankind in his image." In the image of God, oh, that's not it. Verse 26, "Then God said, let us make humankind in our own image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the birds, fish of the sea, birds of the air, etc., etc." So the whole idea that God is talking and God's referring to himself in the plural, let us do this, and that would set up God the Father and Jesus together. That may be somewhere where Moses wrote about Jesus. If y'all can find something else in those first 5 books where Moses is referring to Jesus, I think that would be great to see exactly, bring clarity kind of when Jesus said that Moses wrote about him. I know it's true, but maybe you can find some more examples to share with the group. But anyway, thanks for being a part of today's study. It's my last day in Georgia. Heading back just in about 30 minutes or an hour or so to head back to North Carolina. I'll see some of y'all at church Sunday, and hopefully I'll see everybody tomorrow for our chapter 6 study. God bless.